Welcome to the Deviant Gentleman podcast. My name is Shane Vitko. Tommy Vext, my co-host, is currently recording. And in the studio with me, I have Sean Buck Rogers.
What's up, dude?
Good to see you, man. So Sean and I had talked a few times on Instagram, and he was supposed to come out a couple of weeks ago, and then we had that crazy Houston nor'easter, and flights got downed and all that shit, so we had to reschedule. So, yeah, man, it's good to get you out here. So tell me a little bit about what's happening, what's going on with you, who you are, who the fuck are you?
That fucking Boston. Who the fuck are you? Dude, that's awesome. It sounds like, I feel like, what's that movie? You probably get it all the time.
Ted?
The Town?
Oh, The Town. Yeah.
Ted, wow,
Yeah.
dude.
I'll take The Town over Ted, but everyone always gives me Ted, and I'm like, fuck, dude, am I not cool enough to be like The Town reference?
Yeah, I'll take The Town, dude. That's way better. But yeah, so, prior Special Forces.
That's something I was going to ask, not to cut you off, but do guys prefer, because I just say like I'm former Army, right? Because I'm not like ex-Army, because I'm not ex-Army, I'm former. So what's the preferred term? Because I feel like, to me, getting the blue cord in infantry was great. Never mind going the mile and doing selection and Q course and then, becoming a Green Beret. So is prior?
Yeah, I just say prior, former, whatever. Marines they're like once a Marine, always a Marine. They just stay that way. But I just say prior, dude. And
right.
That tip's shit. Hang on, let me get this.
Yeah, get settled in. Take your fucking shoes off if you want.
But yeah, so I just say prior, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so prior Special Forces, and you did Green Beret. How long were you active?
So I did 8 years. It's about 8 years, and then I did one guard year, which I never showed up to.
Right. Like the IRR kind of thing?
No, so I was actually signed up. I was supposed to be like pre-selection cadre for guys in the guard that were going to go to selection. And but at the same time, I was in the police department going through training. And so I was just fucking stressed out of my mind trying to like pass all that shit and deal with that. So I just told them, I was like, look, guys, like,
yeah,
I can't give up my weekends because I'm fucking studying like street rotations and shit because I'm lost all the time. And so they were just like, it's cool, man. Like, you don't have to show up.
And how many tours did you do?
Two to Afghanistan.
And you just wrote a book called Rising Above, right?
Yep.
So, which I actually read, and yeah, dude, it's a trip sometimes, and it's like, because I read that prior to meeting you in person, so it's like I get to paint this image of like how you think, what's going on for you, and it's crazy how much shit that I can relate to and go like, fuck, man, I remember feeling that same exact way. But we'll get to the book. But what you did mention about was like how, you got fucked in the beginning and ended up going in as a cook. That's a real hardcore job. But the book, did you end up having to go back to Benning for AIT for infantry?
No.
So just when you went to the command sergeant major, and then you shipped and then just went to selection and did everything from there, huh?
Yeah.
Fucking weasel. No, that's cool.
Yeah, all
man.
the infantry guys are like, man, fuck you.
Yeah, right. I remember like when I was going through basic, and after we were done with CBT, guys were coming in from other units now to do the AIT so that they could get, the blue cord and get the infantry shit. So Special Forces, and then you got out and then decided.
Law enforcement.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, like most vets, dude, it's like you feel pigeonholed, and you think that you should do something because you're good at it, right? And I think that's like an unfortunate like misconception about just people in general. It's like we find something that we're good at, and so we do it and kind of like forget the fact that whether or not it makes you happy. So that was kind of my mindset getting out. I was like, well, what am I good at? It's like, I don't know, fucking know. I'm 18 Bravo. Like, I liked war. I was pretty decent at shooting at people and, not getting hit, the best I could. So I was like, fuck it. I'll go into like the 3-letter agencies. I'll try for them. So I finished my bachelor's before I got out, and then started applying to FBI, CIA, Secret Service, and then the police departments. And which that was a fucking shit show on its own. Like,
So what happened with the letter agencies? None of them.
well, they were just too
Fit the
fucking
bill?
slow, dude. So it's like I took the FBI test and passed, and then they invited me to the next phase of that testing. I took Secret Service. Secret Service actually failed that one. I failed the polygraph for the Secret Service. We get an audio?
Fucking thing.
Did it just cut out again?
Because I can see us flickering on the bottom, but it didn't look like the top was moving. But we're good. All right, my bad. So, move too slow.
Yeah, so the FBI, I took the test, and then, it takes too damn long. And I'm like, I got to get a fucking job. Like, I got to pay my bills. I'm getting out. And then Secret Service, they were going to put me straight into the counter assault team because they had a new program they were doing where they're going to go, if you were prior special forces, you can go counter assault, like a different hiring process. You'll do 6 months as a Secret Service agent, and then you'll go straight to the counter assault team to their selection and all that stuff. So I was like, fuck yeah, that'd be cool. So I started doing the testing for that. They fucking hooked it up. They're like, the agents that were on the counter assault team were super cool dudes. And I felt really good about it. And then I go to the fucking polygraph, and she just fucking, I hate her and she hates me, dude. Like, it was a bad experience. So she's like, during the I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about polygraphs and if you sign off on their shit, but
I don't know. It ain't going to affect me. So that's your fucking choice.
Yeah. But so we'll just say that we did not see eye to eye, and she pissed me off by using, my bracelet and dead friends against me, and that just fucking floored me. So I was like, fuck you. And then she's like, I can't get a read on you. I'm like, that's your fucking problem. Mm-hmm. So needless to say, she ends up failing me. But I don't hear anything back. You're supposed to get like a better qualified applicant letter. I never got it. So I just moved on from that. And then the police department, it was just consistent, man. They were just like, hey, 2 weeks, next step, 2 weeks, next step. And then I did their polygraph, expecting the same kind of fucking nightmare. And it was just like, ask me the questions, good to go. And it was chill. So really the police department kind of won out based on their hiring practices being like routine and in line and, just more organized.
Or based on our trauma and need and instant gratification.
Yeah.
Right? Like, dude, because it's funny. Oh, shit. Hey, babe, come shut the fucking door, will you? When I joined the Army, it was the same thing. Like, originally, I wanted to be a Marine. That was it. Like, everyone I knew was a Marine, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I'm going to join the Marines. So I went to see the recruiter, and it was like, I have a GED, and I have, like, charges pending, and they were like, stay away.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Army, and it was just like, yeah, great, come on in, And it's like before, and like you said, it was always in touch with me, and one step, shipping off,
Boom.
Where the week before I was leaving for basic, the Marines called me back and said like, oh, hey, it turns out like it's cool and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, I'm already shipping off. Like, fuck you. Like, I wanted to do that, and you didn't take the chance. So, like, I went with who was ready right now.
Yeah.
And then that gets grounded real quick when you get to the military, and it's just hurry up and wait all the time. So that instant gratification shit goes right out the door.
Go
on. Okay, so let's talk about some shit. So, so tell me about the nickname Buck. I know, but tell everyone how we get called Buck.
So when I got to Special Forces, I got to the team room, and I was expecting a warm welcome, being the new 18 Bravo, and I was all happy to be there and shit. And I was like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be legit, dude. It's my new family. And I walk in, and there's like 5 or 6 GBs all in there sitting there, and they won't even fucking look up when I walk in the room. So I introduce myself. I'm like, hey guys, I'm the new 18 Bravo on the team. Like, how you doing? And they just looked at me like I was a piece of shit. And I was like, all right, this is how this is going to go. And then finally, after a couple minutes of ignoring the fuck out of me, Tony, he's like, talk to that fucking dude. And he's the team sergeant, talk to him. So I went to the team sergeant. I was like, hey, man, or I was like, hey, sergeant, master sergeant. I was standing at parade rest and shit, trying to be all respectful. And I was like, he's like, what's your name? And I was like, Sean Rogers. And he goes, Rogers? Like Buck Rogers? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That's, yeah, like Buck Rogers. I was like, that's hilarious, dude.
What? And Buck Rogers, I think I listened to it on your podcast because I didn't know, but it's from Dick Tracy.
I guess, man.
Yeah.
There's like a character named, it's a character named Buck Rogers. And I've looked him up a couple times, like just to see, and I don't fucking.
Because what I get from it, right? Like what I get from it is immediately I would just start calling you the Winter Soldier always. Because I think about Marvel, and you got Bucky, and then you had Captain America was Steve Rogers or whatever the fuck. So you're basically like a mix of Captain America and the fucking Winter Soldier, you know?
I get that a lot. People are like, you're Captain America before he goes into the chamber.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck you guys.
All scrawny and shit.
Yeah, the little pussy Captain America.
That's good. So let's talk about, we'll get to the book too, but let's talk about some veteran stuff. So why do you think so many veterans stay away from actually getting or doing some form of therapy?
I think a lot of them, and we're talking about while they're in or after they get out, or because
I mean, while I'm in, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Period. That's like being in prison and like I'm gonna work on my feelings. Not happening, dude. Right. You know, like it's not. You know what I mean, it's not realistic. So, you know, I mean, back when I was in, there was no medication or anything like that. Whereas now, I feel like that's more of a welcomed thing with taking meds and shit. But I didn't see that ever when I was in.
Yeah. Well, now I feel like they just pump. All they want to do is pump you full of fucking meds. Dude.
Well, that's what the VA is down to do also, you know.
Any doctor, man. Like any doctor, though, like I went to a psych for a while and, you know, I could tell she hit a wall and was just like, you need meds, you know. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't want to fucking take all these meds. Yeah. And then I go to the doctor and he's like, you need this one and this one. And then you go to another doctor, like prescribed by that doctor. They're like, hey, you need to see this person because they specialize in this. And then they start prescribing you different shit. So it's like they're not even communicating all the shit that they're trying to give you. But my personal opinion, I think, especially while guys are in, because I notice in special operations that it's so normalized because we all have it. Most of us have it that we don't even realize we have it, right? So it's like everyone in the fucking team room has got the same issues. So how do you know that it's an issue? If you're just like the guy to your left and you're just like the guy to your right, how the fuck do you know you got a problem? So for me, I didn't realize that I had, you know, any kind of things going on until I got out and I started, you know, a job that was similar, you know, the police department. But these people haven't, you know, some of them have. There's a lot of ex-military, but there's a lot of them that weren't ex-military. And I'm seeing that their behaviors and the way they act and things like that. And I'm like, these guys I'm not even fucking close to that person. Like I'm getting into fucking road rage incidents, wanting to run people into the fucking barrier, just driving into work, you know? And these people are like, it's just not the same. They're like calm, cool, and collected. Like fucking everything's gravy. And you know, you stand too close to me and my heart rate's going through my fucking throat, you know?
I used to be so envious of that when I would like, even when I was in the can, dude, and I had this one friend and I'm like, bro, how do you not get upset by shit? And he's like, I just don't let it bother me. And I'm like, man, that's fucking a magic trick. Where did you pick that up? Because I missed that fucking memo.
Yeah.
You know?
Same.
Because it's the same thing where it's just like, I never had this pause or like this, I'm starting to get angry. I either was okay or I wanted to fucking murder you.
Yeah.
And maybe not even stop there. Keep going until I got tired or something. You know what I mean? But like, there was just nothing in between of like, I'm really getting upset now, you know? And it has taken many years and a lot of stuff to get me to a place where I feel like I still even fail sometimes where,
100%.
you know, I mean, and it's over the littlest shit too. And it just happens to be a day. And it's like, I try to make sure I'm taking all these steps to work out and do these things and do readings and do all these things that I do that have proved, you know, reliable in this past 2.5 years I've been sober. And even still, I fall short. And then what happens? Then I'm my own worst critic. I'm a piece of shit. I knew I'm lying to everyone. I can't be in this nice community being a citizen. I'm a fucking lunatic and I belong in a fucking cage because I'm not like you, you know? And then it's like, I got to remember, well, that's being black and white thinking. And let me remember how much I have accomplished and where I am. And I do deserve to be where I am. And I'm a fucking human. And it's okay for me to still get upset as long as I'm not acting out. Right. So like I tell people this too, where it's like, I can't control my thoughts. So someone cuts me off immediately. Like, I'm going to fucking beat this motherfucker with a tire iron, but I don't. I am responsible for how I react to my thoughts.
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, dude, but I'm in the same boat. And I just did a video on this. It was called, You Messed Up or something like that. And it was just talking. I woke up that morning, think about it, and just ranted about it. It's like, fuck, dude, we have to start giving ourselves some credit. We can't, every time we make a mistake, because, dude, everything you say is like exactly what I do. I'll flip out, and then I'm like, I just beat myself into the ground about how terrible I am and how I'm fucking it up and how you feel like your whole life is an imposter syndrome. You get that imposter syndrome, like your whole life is fake, and you've just kept this facade up until that point.
Just holding on for dear life,
yeah.
doing the best I can to just blend in with Harry and fucking Jen down the street. You know?
Right. Like, it's gotten to the point of, like, in grocery stores, I can't go to grocery stores on weekends. And that sounds ridiculous, but I can't I can't be in there. And so my wife will ask me, like, if I go to jiu-jitsu or something, she's like, on the way back, can you stop and get something? I'm like, what day is it? You know, so I work from home, so every day is a fucking Monday or every day is Saturday. And she's like, well, it's Saturday. I was like, honey, I can't. Because if I go, and no shit, this was what happened. The last time she asked me, it was like 3 weeks ago. She said, can you stop and get something? I was like, yes, I'm feeling good. I'll stop and get something. I got in that grocery store and, like, it was fucking packed. And there's no room for this guy. He's walking towards me, and my heart rate starts going up. I'm like, you can't fit to my left and right, so stop walking. Why are you still fucking walking towards me? And he just keeps coming. Like, I have to get out of his fucking way so he could walk past. Like, fuck you, dude. And like, instantly, I dropped the cart, and I walked out. I said, fuck you. I can't do this. And I had to tell her, like, I'm sorry I didn't get what you wanted me to get at the store. I couldn't do it. And she's like, fuck. But, you know, she understands, but it's still hard, right? Your husband can't stop and grab some fucking milk and something at a grocery store on a weekend. But, dude, I don't understand people.
It took me a long, the grocery store thing was big for me. And I think not only because of the military, but because of prison, because there was so many choices where for 7 years I had only so many things to decide, right? Now I go to the supermarket and there's fucking 50 different cereals, 27 different kinds of milk, almond milk. I didn't even know you could make milk out of a fucking almond. And I would get overwhelmed because I'm like, so it got to a point where I was like, I need a fucking list to go in, target what I need, and get the fuck out of Dodge, right? I need the list. It cannot be while there's a bunch of people there. Like, it got to the point where I would have to go in there with a list and have my girl with me and, like, rubbing my back like that, it's cool, you know? It was a very, very stressful thing. And I've talked to a lot of vets and a lot of people that have had that same kind of struggle. And I think though also it's one of those things of, like, you know, and this mindset of, like, it's almost like, oh, so you're telling me that I can't do this? Okay, well, fuck you, right? So how do I learn to do this? How do I learn to be in a movie theater? How do I learn to go out to eat and not have to sit somewhere with my back against a wall, making sure I can see the doors and shit, you know? And I think it's like these small things of, like, I'll go to a small restaurant when there's not a lot of people there and stop there and give it a whirl and see what happens, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, and that's kind of something that we're gonna touch on in here too about hypervigilance, but getting back to the original thing of why, you know, and this really started to dawn on me when, I remember going to the VA and going to see a therapist. And I guess my real biggest thing was that most of the therapists that go to the VA, for you to get one that's an actual there and has been there for 20 years, you're on a list for 15 years. So what you get is these ones that are getting their hours or whatever, and they're on rotation. So now you mean to tell me I'm in there with this lady and we've been working, and now we're just getting to my mother's death. We haven't even got to the military yet. We're just getting to my mother's death, and now it's, hey, I'm rotating out. You're going to meet with someone new. Hey, man, fuck you. Right? Because I still didn't have that separation. You're abandoning me. You're abandoning me, and you're going to leave me just like everyone else in my life. Fuck this. I should have never fucking came here. I'm out of here. You know, instead of having the perspective of like, okay, well, now I get like a new start with somebody else, and I've kind of gone through all this stuff. So instead of starting at the very, very, very beginning, let me maybe start midway so that by 6 months we can actually get to doing some stuff, you know? And when I went to MVP out in LA, which was merging vets and players. And I reached out to this kid, and I went to this event, and, you know, I heard all these, you did a workout, and then after you kind of sat around and talked. And I just remember everyone being like, you're never going to catch me going to therapy. You're never going to catch me doing this. And I inside, I just went like, I'm so grateful I don't think like that anymore, you know, because for the longest time my thing was, if you haven't walked in my shoes, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't want your goddamn advice. Stay the fuck away from me. To where I finally got to a place where I was like, okay, I definitely need those people in my life. When I talk military stuff, I want to talk to somebody who's done it. When I talk to prison stuff, I want to talk to somebody who's done it. But what I also learned is that if you went to school to learn how my brain works and why I like drugs and alcohol and why I've made decisions I've made and how trauma can affect me, I'm willing to also hear that too. But that didn't happen for me for a long time. And I think a lot of people get stuck on that of like, you don't look like me. You don't know, you know, even as like, oh, you were in the military, but you were a fucking, you know, you were in the band. Nah, see ya, dude. You know what I'm saying? And I get it, you know? But I think that's a big reason why people are, you know, that also leads to, you know, why men in general, never mind ones that have served, is crying and experiencing emotion. Oh my God. The only emotion I know is fucking anger, and it doesn't hurt, you know?
Yeah. And well, I think even now, like having done therapy and knowing the benefits from it, I still don't seek it out because it's like, I know I need it. I know I need more of it. But we find that we have to stay in our comfort zones as much as possible in order to like try to live like everybody else and do what everyone else can. But there's certain things that you have to like expand to make in your comfort zone, and talking to people needs to be one of those things. But
do you have any experience with neurofeedback?
No.
So one thing that I'm a huge advocate for, and I tell any vet I can, is that there's a website called Homecoming for Veterans or homecomingforvets.com, .net, .org. I don't know. Put in Homecoming for Vets and something should come up. And I had someone when I went to treatment this last time years ago, there was this neurofeedback clinician that worked there, and she was big into the brain and all this stuff, and it interested me because I had never met someone like this before. And she kept telling me, and thank God she was as adamant as she was, because she'd be like, did you reach out? And I'm like, no. Hey, did you check out that website? I'm like, I will, right? Until finally she was like, will you right now go on your phone and go to that website? And I'm like, all right. And I went, and it's free, man. It's free for veterans. This is something that we're talking is like $250 to $300. I know people that have done it privately that have talked to me about it that aren't veterans. $250 to $300 an hour to do this shit, right? And here's what sold me on it was I went to her office and sat down with her, nicest lady, and she's like, I'm going to have you watch this video. So she shows me this video from the military, right? And this guy comes in, and this dude's done like 14 deployments, got TBI, been blown up 3 fucking times. I mean, he walked in, Sean, right? And when he starts talking, you're like, this guy he can't even form a sentence. Like, he was so fucking blown out of the game. Just like, I'm like, oh man. And you see 2-3 sessions go on, and he's, you know, agrees to be recorded or whatever. And he's like, you know, I'm having tons of anger and my wife and she's afraid of me and all this shit, but at least he's starting to articulate a little bit. 10 sessions in, it's like he's holding sentences down and he's like, yeah, and it's cool, and I think I'm going to apply for a job and blah, blah, blah. By 20 sessions, this dude's sitting here just like you and I having a conversation. Everything's great. Me and my wife, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the fuck? This guy was a borderline retard 20 sessions ago. And now look at this. I'm like, fucking sign me up. Let's go, lady. Fire this thing up and let's do it. And for me, it was the greatest result with the least path of resistance. So where I have to sit there and talk about shit and talk about this and relive all this fucking shit that I pretend doesn't happen anymore. I didn't have to do any of that. It would literally be come in, check in, what's going on, how are you this week? And I'm like, and at the beginning, I'm like, I fucking hate my life. This is crazy. I'm bananas. I'm going to kill somebody. And you watch this thing, and what happens is they hook up all these things to your head, and what it's doing is rewiring your brain. You're not getting shocked. Nothing happens. You watch it TV. Now they have it up to where in the beginning it used to be like this video game shit you had to play. Now it's like literally hooked up to Netflix. You pick what you want to watch. You put The Office on, whatever, and let it run. And what happens is the screen goes from small to big. It kind of flashes a little bit, but like I have nerve damage in my face and I have like weird fucking tics. And if you do any of that shit, the sound will go away and it kind of gets white. So what happens is, even if it's something you've seen 100 times, it's bothering you that it's going away. So now you're kind of focusing on, oh yeah, I got to not do that shit because the sound's going to go away. I mean, if I bite my lip, if I do anything, movements, it fucks up what I'm looking at, So, and like, it's almost like all I have to do is this. It's it. I just watch TV and fucking I don't want to murder people anymore, coupled with that, I'm in the program and I'm working the steps and I'm doing breath work and I'm doing these other things. But I credit so much of neurofeedback as well as breath work to being such a game changer for me. And I didn't know about it, So it's like, how many people could this be saving that just don't know about it?
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It sounds like something I would love to check out. Especially, I know too that I need to work on the breath thing. I was doing pretty decent for a while, and then how it goes. You just start like slowly dropping things off. But that sounds cool, man. I definitely think because it's like retraining your brain.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
because we pick up all these bad habits, or our brains are wired to think this is it and that's it. So to do that without actually anything, I mean, for me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
you literally can go there and not talk about shit. It's best to kind of be like, okay, so did anything, happen? And in the beginning, it was like, yeah, like I flipped the fuck out. I kicked this kid's door in and, I went bananas. There was another time this guy ate my food. I took it out of the fridge. I fucking whipped it against his wall, threatened his life. And I'm like, and then as time went on, it was like, the worst thing was I was like, I did get a little upset today in traffic, but, what did you react? No, and it's like, again, I want to go like, I'm still a fuck up, but it's like, if we compare where I was 30, 60, 90 days ago to now we compare where I was 2.5 years ago, never mind 3 or 4 years ago to where I'm at now. It's the impossible, dude. Yeah, I did the awesome. Fucking impossible, So if I could do it, why can't the next person?
Right. And I don't know if people truly understand what it means to be addicted to heroin. Like you say I came back from it. I feel blessed just to have like been a cop to see people addicted to heroin. So I've seen so many people like knee deep and just laying on the streets and, sharing needles, helping, anything they can to get that next shot. And I feel like the fact that people don't realize how big of an achievement that is for you to be sitting here right now, for not to not be dead, and to have kicked it and to be a healthy person. Like it blows my mind. Like heroin, dude, tell me about it. But what I've seen is terrifying.
Dude, it takes your fucking soul is what it does, But the first time I get into that, like I started with the pills and shit first. And then it was like, again, I'm that kind of guy where it's like, let's not half-ass this. I don't want a bicycle. I want a fucking motorcycle that does fucking 160 miles. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do kinda. I'm either fucking all in or I'm all out, Yeah. So when I got introduced to that, I know people that did it once, puked, and were like, this is disgusting. I'm never doing it again. For me, I was like, there's my mom. Like my mom died when I was 6. And for me, it was the answers to everything. It was that warm embrace that loved me, and nothing else mattered. Didn't matter if I had bills. Didn't matter I had no purpose. Didn't matter no one gave a fuck about what I did or who I was. Just nothing else mattered. And then now all that becomes like, I'd be in relationships and even family, and they're like, if you love me, you'd stop. And I'm like, I love you, but I love the needle more. So bye. You know, and that's it. I'm married to that motherfucker. That runs my life. That makes every decision for me. I wake up in the morning. If I don't have dope and I'm going to get sick, I don't give a fuck if it's your wedding day, my niece's birthday, I got a kid. It doesn't matter. All that matters is how am I getting at least $40 right now or $60 to go get shit, get high, and then it's like, nothing ever happened. It's like you were never sick or nothing, and now it's like, okay, what do we got to do? Go to a birthday party? We hanging out? Let's get the day popping. And every fucking day is like that, where it's like until I get that, it's like being a fucking diabetic, where it's like until I get my insulin, I can't make any other choices, and it's like obviously they don't have a choice. And I'm still I'm not of that people that's here to say that like addiction is a disease and all this shit and you're born with it. I guess there's countless people that will prove it and say that it is. I think it's more of this like mental illness, right? Where like I just, due to the fact of not learning good coping skills, due to the fact of trauma, not having purpose, feeling sorry for myself, pity, I was a prime fucking candidate for drugs and alcohol, because I got to be not on this planet, I got to just go away. And then when you come off it, you just kind of go like, I'm a piece of shit and I don't stand a chance and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't even know that I wanted to get sober. I know that I didn't want to live like that anymore, but I remember being at a point where I was just like, I don't want to do either. Just let me have a fucking brain aneurysm. It's been cool. It's been a cool ride, but I'm out of here. Like fucking, I'm done, dude. I don't give a shit. Like I don't want to be sober. I just don't want to fucking do this anymore. And because all I could focus on was just tragedy. Life is just one fucking tragedy after another. But is that true? No, is what I realized. Is that sure? Is there? A guy said to me the best out in LA was like, life doesn't happen to us. Life just happens, right? So good things happen to shitty people and shitty things happen to good people. But so many times you want to take it personal and it's not fair, and fuck God and fuck you and fuck the police and fuck this and fuck the army and fuck all you guys because you fucked me up, right? So it's like, what if, no, like it's just, life happens and some shitty things happen, but can I not say that also some really fucking good things happened? And everything's perspective, man. And I've learned that from the program, is changing my perspective, because I can look at everything in a miserable light, and then guess what? I stay miserable. So if I go into a miserable situation and go like, what's the something I can dig in here and find positive from? It changes my whole goddamn perspective. And that's for me. Like, I don't give a fuck about what it's doing for you in this situation, where it's like, how can I deal with this situation and be okay with me, So I had tried to get sober a bunch of times, man. And then this last time around, it was just like, I just had no fucking wind left in my sails, dude. It was just like, but even when I got sober, I still, every time I get sober, go, now what? The fuck am I going to do? And really finding breath work became purpose. I finally found purpose of like, you know what, dude? I'm fucking good at this, and I've helped a lot of people. If I can just get my shit together, because I got in a few motorcycle accidents, so I relapsed and got all fucked off again. But once I stayed sober for a little bit and regained confidence, because even that, I was like, this isn't a real fucking job. Like, I'm pretending I can help people, and like, I can't even fucking help myself and blah, blah, blah. But once I kind of got some stability back in my life and remembered that, like, the difference between being cocky and being confident. Why can't I be confident that I'm good at what I do? Doesn't mean I have to be like, hey, I'm the best and nobody's great at this. Nah, that's being a cocky dickhead. But going, hey, I'm good at what I do and I have something to offer you. If you want to do it, let's rock, And, breath work set that off. And then I got to this place of just like, why not me? Why can't I have a podcast? Why can't I start a clothing line? Why can't we start a tea business? Like, so many people have ideas, but just go like, it's not realistic. Well, it's not realistic because you don't fucking make it realistic. Yep. How many times I thought if I just sat around, someone would knock on my door and be like, do you want $1 million a year? Yeah. Because we're looking for someone just like you. And I'm like, yeah, finally. Thanks for knocking. Nah, man, that's never going to happen. I mean, maybe, but.
Well, and I think I think now through, your story, and I think through my story, like we were talking about earlier, I think that people need stories like ours more than they need the fucking fairy tale. And I think, to me, that's just, I don't know, maybe getting on TV or getting on, social media before, you had to be this perfect person or something. But now it's like we're so much more open to where anyone could get on and we could talk about our problems, and people realize that we all are fucked up. So let's talk about that shit. Let's like be okay with getting in front of the spotlight and then fucking tripping and falling on your face and then getting back up and walking. Like,
Dude, I did a play in LA and forgot my lines. You know how fucking horrifying that is to stand there and go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then kick in and remember and like get through it. And it's like, it's true, because you take a shot. And I think, the one thing that I've definitely can say is true is that the more authentic I am and stop worrying about, if people like me and if I'm doing the right thing, it's like, I'm just me, man, and like, I know I'm not for everybody, and that's cool, because guess what? Not everybody's for me.
Right.
But yeah, I think we get so caught up, and when I had stayed sober for a year in LA, but I think that's a big reason as to why I relapsed, because I was under the impression that I had to be this perfect model of society now, and I don't swear and I never get mad and everything's perfect and I'm sober, and welcome to the life of sobriety where everything's peaceful and we never say cunt and it's all great and I don't get upset anymore. And I was lying, man. I was lying. So this time when I got sober, and I'm like, it turns out I can still do breath work. I can still do all these things, and I can still say fuck, because I'm a goddamn human. And where I came from, like, do I hear sometimes and go like, Jesus, I swear a lot, where other people don't? But guess what, dude? Where I came from, it's just the way it goes. So like, I'm a, I don't know if product of my environment, but that's how I grew up. And if the worst thing I'm doing is saying fuck too much on a daily basis, like, bro,
good.
You and I are not alike. You know what I'm saying? Because like, it's really not that big a deal.
Right.
People get so offended with words these days, even retard. Like I say, I'm like, dude, I don't know. Maybe it's different for us, but where I'm from, like, that's an all right thing. And am I going up to special needs kids and being like, hey, retard, haha? No, dude, like, that's not realistic, But to be like, oh, you can't say that. Fucking who says you can't say that? Well, no one ever told. I never got that fucking memo when I grew up. Now all of a sudden you can't say it anymore. I'm not running around saying the N word. Right. Maybe once in a while, but not on live TV. All right, so I know in your book it says a little. You talk a little bit about some stuff, and we've talked. Do you think that and I don't know how personal you want to get, but let's keep it real. Do you think that you are an alcoholic? Do you think that you're a problem drinker, or do you think none of the above?
Oh, I have a problem with alcohol. Because like I just had to take a week of not drinking to like prove to myself that I could not drink. And if you have to take a week of not drinking to prove that you don't have to drink, then you got some kind of a problem, so that, yeah. Cause like at night, dude, my thing is like, I'm good as long as I'm hustling and I'm working and getting shit done. The minute I run out of things to do and it's like 5 o'clock, I'm like, where's the beer? Let's fucking crack a drink and watch some TV and chill and drink beer. But the problem we've a lot of us have made that kind of a normal thing, right? So where it's like someone would look at that and be like, a couple beers a night, 2-3 beers a night, that's not a problem. You find, yeah, we all have to, but that's not the problem. The problem is let's say I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm not going to drink today. Come 5 o'clock, I'm like, where's the beer? So that to me is a fucking problem, because I have a hard time saying no to my 5 o'clock chilling and relaxing with the beer.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing that you learn in recovery too, is that obsession. And that's what it is, the obsession of the mind, right? So if I'm going to make it 2 days, but all I'm thinking about is 6 o'clock to hit on that second day, and as soon as that hits, I'm fucking drinking or using again, then it's like, it's no longer that like I'm just going out to have, I never understood going to a cookout and drinking beer. I think it's fucking disgusting to drink beer and eat food together, but I would do it. Because I'm like, it's a 4th of July party. Yeah, burgers and hot dogs and fucking cold Heineken. I'm like, this is disgusting, and Heineken's fucking bogus. As soon as it gets 1 degree colder than it was when it left the case, and I got friends that have been holding them for 20 fucking minutes in the August heat in Boston, and they still love it. And I'm like, dude, that's so bogus. And that's like, I think about these times of like or I'm at work, right? And all I think about is, once this day ends and I no longer have responsibilities to do, I'm getting high. And I justified that as like, well, what? It's my downtime. So it's like, I'm going to do it. But when you find out that, like, first of all, most normal people haven't even smoked weed and only drink and have never touched hard drugs. And I'm like, holy shit. But when those people just like, go out and have a glass of wine and don't finish it and just leave it there, and you go like, huh?
Yeah,
It's like, who the fuck does that?
Yeah,
and that's when I started putting things together, because even for me right now, it's like alcohol was never my go-to, but when I did drink, I was a binge drinker. I'm drinking until I black out, punch you in the face, or fuck your girlfriend. You know what I mean? Or all three. But that's it. Like, I'm not going like, hey, let's just go get a buzz and then I'm going to go home. Motherfucker, we get a buzz. It's time to maybe get some cocaine to keep this train rolling. Where's there an after hours? And let's fucking, again, let's ride this motherfucker till the wheels fall off, till we get arrested, killed, overdose. Fucking let's do it, And I mean, that's how I did everything in such addictive behavior. Even with my motorcycle, I had my therapist in LA tell me that I was subliminally trying to commit suicide. And I was like, yeah, fucking nuts. And then you go home and think on that and you go like, she could be onto something,
Well, I know that feel like when, that's one of the things we talk about is when I walked in on my first wife cheating on me, and I went as fast as that car could go, and it's just 100+ miles an hour, like the entire way. I don't care if you're in the way or not. I'm not taking my foot off the pedal. You think you're just driving fast, and then you think about it later. You're like, yeah, that's on purpose.
Fucking reckless.
Yeah, but you're doing it on purpose. You're hoping something changes. Like, you don't want to crash, but if it happens, at least it changes your situation a little bit.